telling you that that was my first drone, and I built it hands down. It flew, and I never saw it again. Unfortunately, I hit home, but home wasn't programmed correctly yet. It is sitting in the cloud somewhere, if it's still got battery life, but I doubt it. But we've come a long way, and I think, you know, just looking at the type of technology that lies here in front of us, it could almost be intimidating to a first-time user. If you walk into a Toys R Us or even a hobby store, you find these little handheld drones that are completely, almost unbreakable. And I think that's a great way to start. But with it becomes a lot of red tape. And I think we're starting to see this just within the drone industry, just in terms of licensing, the issues around registration to fly these drones. And I think it's important that it is regulated. If we just look in a construction environment where the opportunities of using drones lies and the return on investment that it offers us, by no means would I say to any person in the public, go out, buy yourself a drone of this nature, start flying. And where are we going with drones? I mean, where's the excitement from your side in terms of what you guys do as a profession, and where's the opportunity lie for the industry?
Good morning, everybody. Don, thanks. I really appreciate it. I think there's so much that can be achieved with drones. Just because it can be achieved, it doesn't have to be achieved. So it's constantly learning. We're constantly learning. We're constantly seeing that there are new things opening up: tourism, construction, real estate, scanning, mapping, all these kind of things. Pizza delivery. So there are so many opportunities going forward. I think what is really imperative is to find the right industries or the right uses for the drones. Because a lot of times, you know, delivering a pizza with a drone, it seems nice and it's also awesome and great, but it really isn't. What's the point of it? You know, it's kind of like a bit of a waste. So I think the future of drones is kind of sifting out how we have to see where it is needed and how we can use it, and then obviously, you know, the guys that are regulating it and policing it and looking after it also need to help us find that balance, you know, so that we can deliver those services, basically.
Stephen, I engaged with you a couple of weeks ago, and interesting enough, we had a similar conversation with the Facilities Management Expo, and I was absolutely gobsmacked of the lack of interest that we saw from asset managers to even start coming to talk to us about this technology. So again, I would almost, I can brazenly say, you know, are they the laggards of our industry that actually what we're doing around here is actually for them, and they're not seeing the opportunity. Have you had more experience in dealing with the asset side of things, with the owner-operator?
We've been in the business for over 20 years now. We started in 1997. It was very hard to actually sell the product. Now, at the end of the day, you are looking, a drone is, I see a drone as a data collector. So we're basically collecting data. In a feature film, we collect movies. This drone here can take really big cameras which shoot 8K. It can also take LiDAR, which does laser scanning. This is the data collection side of it. And we need the BIM side of it to tie into all of this for an end product. You can see the video that's playing there as well. Those are not just the data collections, but then it's all your software and tying it in on usable data. So it's no good. The guy on a building site is looking for how many cubes of sand have I got in that stockpile. Well, we can survey that stockpile. It takes a couple of minutes to do. But then we need to actually give it in numbers, as in an Excel spreadsheet. That's where we're seeing this whole data side. And we're saying, why are they so slow in uptake on all of this? When you see this, I think about 6-7 years ago, I do a lot of work for National Geographic, and we were here in Durban with all the National Geo guys, and the guys from National Geo said to the guys, we've shot wildlife, the lion kills and all the rest of it, thousands of times. You've got to find a different way in which to do it. Take a little camera and put it through and can see a different angle on a vehicle in the drone. And after, there must have been about 800 people in the audience, and they walked past my stand outside the door, past the drone, they were sitting there, and there's your answer. There's your different RPV, your POV shot, point of view, the point of view of a bird, the point of view of a bee, and there it is there. And when you're looking at data capturing, instead of building scaffolding, here's your answer. You don't have to build scaffolding anymore. You can fly up. We do all the cooling towers and smokestacks, and very, very quick. And now, with the software development that's happening worldwide, and computers, the speed that computers can process. I remember 6-7 years ago, we did our first smokestack. We did it with a Canon 5D, which was 22 meg photographs. It took the guys nearly 2 weeks to process those photographs. Now today, that same size images with the computer power that we have is being processed in a couple of hours and giving you that point cloud measurements and everything that you need. And those measurements are up to 5mm accuracy. So that's to give you an idea of what all of this can be used for.
You know, I think a lot of people just look at a drone and say, well, we pop a camera on the bottom and we shoot some video, we shoot some images, and we do some site inspections. If we look at the type of cameras that we're actually attaching to these devices, from thermal imagery to 3D scanning, so, you know, let alone putting a 3D scanner on a tripod and doing some scanning, it's actually visually scanning from the top. So we're looking at maintenance, going down, actually doing scanning on using a camera. Let's say, I know now that they're attaching, am I right, a 7D, 7K in terms of pixelation. Maybe, I think for a lot of people in the crowd to understand how video works, in terms of, most of us are familiar with 720, which we know is HD, and then you get the 1080, which is full HD, and then someone throws, now we've got 2.7K, and you think, well, I can't run that because my PC is too slow. And then you get a GoPro that shows you, well, that's 4K. Now we're speaking of 7K. Where's the advantage of putting 7K on the bottom of the drone and flying it onto a site?
So everywhere, you can put whatever you want underneath the drone. The advantage of putting a more advanced camera is you have that more leeway to work with. Obviously, TVs don't show 4K, but editors and stuff have more, they have more space to work around, whether they're doing their color grading. Even if they're pulling out data, they have more access, and the cameras can pick up more depth. The LiDAR scanners and the lasers they're more accurate. Obviously, the stronger the camera, the better. At the end of the day, whether you're choosing to do the data or like a feature film, drones are the answer, hands down.
But also with the high resolution cameras, let's say for instance I had a 4K camera, and it would take me, let's say, theoretically 14 minutes to survey a 50-hectare area. With a high-resolution camera, that would half or lessen the amount of time needed to survey the particular area, because the data rate, or the rate at which data is now being collected, happens a lot more faster.
Yeah, you actually mentioned a very good point there, time. Time is of essence with these things, and they don't stay in the air forever.
Batteries, individual batteries, 6 motors. Where this comes in is, on the nose, you can put a small camera, which is like a 4K camera. The flight time there on the lighter payload would be about 40-45 minutes. Now, this can take a 60 kilogram payload, which is your LiDAR and your flying laboratories for sniffing air. Then your flight time starts dropping down to about 15 minutes of the 6K payload. There are other ways in which to get longer flight times as well. I see third-party guys like your Inspires and your smaller aircraft. You take the battery out and you put a false battery in, and then it is actually, there's a cable that goes up to it, which is a tethered system. And early on you were watching sport, rugby and that. Overseas, funny enough, here not so much, it's coming now. He's recording the entire practice session. And afterwards you can actually tell the guys, hey, lucky, we took the wrong move there, Jono, check, get this right. So that is where development, you must understand something, the development in this is the fastest growing industry in the world. There's nothing to touch the growth on this. And when you look at, for instance, DJI, 8 years ago, I bought my first autopilot from them for the helicopter side. That cost me 90,000. Today, you buy an entire 4K system for around about 20,000. And the size of DJI themselves is a multi-billion company. They start talking and comparing themselves to Apple computers. And the development side and how many thousands of employees are working on this stuff. So that's to give you an idea on the speed of development.
Yeah, I think it's a $500 billion industry globally, and that's just over the last 5 years. That type of value that we're talking here in terms of it's not just the equipment. That's talking about the job opportunities out there. But it's all very well to fly these things and it looks like fun and we've got it. And now I get down to the nuts and bolts. Let's talk about legislation, licensing, and the CA rules. So I'm a man on the street, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going out there, I start small, I buy a Phantom DJI, let's say a Pro, it comes with everything. I can fly, I can do business. What's stopping me?
You don't have a license. It's like a car. Airspace has become, especially in South Africa, I mean, they're very strict to their airspace laws.
Okay, who's stopping me?
Sorry. It is quite interesting. You can't go buy a Cessna because you don't have a license, but you can buy a drone without a license. So there, obviously on the supplier side, taking responsibility to who you're selling and for what reasons. If it's going to be for hobbyists, for commercial, recreational, just me and the boys going out with the bikes and that type of thing, yes, no problems. Do it responsibly, kind of get some training beforehand or know what you're doing beforehand. But if you're going to be doing it commercially, follow the rules. If you start a waste company, I was in waste management for 15 odd years. Get the licenses, get all your approvals, make sure that you're following the right track, because one slip up has a lot of repercussions and consequences at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think if you buy, let's say, a DJI Pro, I think you can go up to a maximum of 90 to 100 meters or something. So what is the regulation in terms of how far can I actually fly?
The basic regulations are the 400 foot, 400 foot, and then 50 meters from structures, 50 meters from people as well, 50 meters from roads, laterally. So those are the basics, which is a safe distance, because if your drone does fall out of the sky, something bad does happen, it's going to hit the ground before it reaches the road or the building or the people if it's 50 meters away. But it also starts on how you fly. Traveling on a highway at 120 kilometers per hour is very safe, but it can also be absolutely detrimental to your safety if you're doing it while it's pouring down with rain or there's fog on the road or something like that. So if you are going to fly, just because there are parameters, don't push them. Don't try and get to that 50 meters. It's about being responsible with what you're doing. So there might be legislation, there might be rules in place, but it's really about how you're handling yourself. And obviously planning the stuff beforehand helps. It does help. Lawrence is on that always. He believes that it comes a few days before the flight. I believe in just kind of using common sense. You don't want somebody doing that to you, so don't go and fly 3 meters away from somebody's head.
Any project cannot be done in the absence of proper planning. Proper planning allows you to provide a quality service and a quality product, but at the same time, when you apply the necessary planning skills, development and so on, you also need to take into account health and safety. So those are two aspects that can be planned for at the same time.
Okay, so I bought my drone. Where do I go for this license? Who do I go to? Who's in the industry that can give me this license?
Okay, basically, when you get a license, you need to apply to for an air service license. That's from the Department of Transport, so they can see that you're capable of commercially operating. You've got the funds behind you, and you've got the structure behind you. You must realize something now. You are talking aviation now, and when you start looking at toys and that type of thing, if you're going to commercially operate, you're now becoming part of the commercial aviation industry. The reason why you are needing this license and your pilots need a commercial pilot license. So when we do fly in controlled airspace, we can talk to aircraft. For instance, we were doing a shoot at Saints the other day, a film shoot, and the police helicopter came in. Well, they got hammered by us because they shouldn't have been below 400 foot. Because we are supposed to work in 400 foot, they're supposed to stay in 500 foot side. But when you say it does work, if you can talk to each other and knowing where each part of it is in the sky, then from the operational side, you need a license from CAA, which is your ROC, OPAS Operating Certificate, and you need to register all your aircraft. So the registration of the aircraft basically is to try and track aircraft. There's a ZT number, and this ZT number belongs to Visual Air. It's like any other aircraft. If this breaks the law, they can track me. The problem is that they have now they've sold millions of these aircraft around. They've taken no serial numbers, no ID numbers of these people. So you can now illegally operate, you can do what you want. Realistically, these can be weapons, because I can swarm 20 of these Phantoms which are costing me 10 grand each, and I can fly them through our Tambo and take out a Boeing with the things, fly them through the jets, the turbines in there. That's the realistic side. I can put a weapon on it, I can actually...
We're not going to put us off understanding what the ability and the opportunities lie around what a drone can offer. What does a machine like this set you back if you wanted to start out?
This unit here is around about 80,000-90,000, but then when you start throwing in all the extra batteries, the extra radios, and that, it starts adding up to a good couple of 100,000.
Whatnot. So I decided to start out small instead of investing big and then taking time to get licenses and goodies and things up to date, because it does take time. I think we actually worked on our manual for almost 6 months to make sure that everything is perfectly all the way through. So we fly the Phantom 3s, they're easy to operate, and I always say they're the Buckies of the drone world. It's a nice hard-working drone, runs easy, and if you know what you're doing, if you lose all GPS modules and all that other stuff, you can fly it on the sticks, and it's not that bad. I actually read a report that came out now that where in the States they literally say we have grossly over-exaggerated what effects a drone crash or a drone falling on somebody can have. They've actually gone and done testing now and seen that, wait a minute, smacking into something with a small drone like a Phantom does not have these absolute incredibly bad consequences. With a small little steel plate like this, you can cause more damage, or a little block of wood of about the size of a fist, you can cause more damage than what a drone can, falling on your head literally. Because in the last 5-6 years, the tech has just developed where drones are basically now absorbing more of the impact. But I like the Phantom 3s. It's small projects, small things. Maybe one day I'll get there. I also need another 20 years. I've also just started the business, about 18 months ago. So we're very new in it, and I think we decided to take it small bits at a time for the moment.
In terms of size now, the Phantom has 4 arms. Maybe you could just explain what's the biggest deal. Here we've got an octagon, a hexagon, a quad. What's the major difference? You're seeing something like the Aspire, which just doesn't even look like a quad. It's like some hideous looking device or something out of space. What is the design behind it, and what's the reason?
Well, obviously I'd say with the more arms, with the more rotors, you get a more stable platform. The thing is, the question you need to ask is, what do you want to achieve? What's your aim in utilizing a particular vehicle? This is just a vehicle. The higher quality vehicle you use, the better vehicle time to use, the better stable the platform is, the better your information is. As correctly said, this is a tool used for the gathering of information. So it depends on the type of market. For geo-mapping, for plain straightforward surveying, the DJI, the Phantom 3s might do the trick, but if you want to go for extreme detail, then you look at something like this.
Yeah, I think, I'm correct, you actually had a rig attached to this.
Yeah, that flies different payloads. But when you're asking also what type of aircraft. Now, we're sitting in different categories. VLOS, visual line of sight, 500 meter radius of the pilot, 400 foot height. That is what we need. Now, the next stage is to go into BVLOS. And I'm busy working with CIA to get my BVLOS site, especially for clearing of for mines before blasting and that type of thing. And that's when they start saying, guys, hang on a minute, this is a quad. What happens when a motor goes, the failure of this? To give you an idea, one battery of this can fail. As a matter of fact, I've seen a video where 2 motors fail, 2 batteries fail. And this thing turns itself into a frisbee and it comes back to home automatically and lands back at home. Survey, any data collected, think of it this way. If you're going to survey your property, you're going to collect the data through this drone, 5 years later you'll end up in a court case, all of that data has to be put toward a court case. If that data wasn't collected by a legal operator, all that information is thrown out instantly out of the court case. So that is the problem that you have. To give you an idea, in April 2014 is when CIA turned around to the industry and said, we don't have regulations to legally permit RPAS to operate in this country. A lot of the big companies like Anglo America stopped operating there. Your film industry stopped operating, and they had to wait until all the licenses came through. And that was the fight for licensed operators to do their best. It took me 10 months and a hell of a lot of burning midnight oil to get our license through to get back into the industry. And the only reason is because I couldn't operate in the industries that I was used to, because they would not use illegal operators. And it's like the same as your car and that type of thing. It's up to you if you're going to pay your third-party disc and that type of thing. But if you get caught, pay the consequences.
To get into it, but the bottom line, I think, is we're not understanding transparency, we're not understanding the collaborative side, we're not even looking at the integrity of information. And there's a lot of data that's transpiring from these things, and we're capturing extremely large lot of data. But what are we doing with it? You know, we have the software, we have Autodesk, who are one of the drivers of design, technology, and everything else that comes with it. How do we start working with our architects and our engineers and saying, take that initiative to actually start sharing information? Because my architect, I can promise you, he is not going out to buy one. And he is not going to take your services on either, because it's going to cost him money. And he's not going to trust your data because it's not in his AutoCAD, which he shouldn't be using at the end of the day.
Sorry, can I interrupt? So I'm actually an architect, and I actually found that certain things need to be done differently, whether it's inspecting the land prior to actually starting a project, or whether it's inspecting it during the project. I found a way where I can actually get a GXF file from the data map collection and transfer it into CAD or into Revit. It makes my initial process of design a hell of a lot quicker, and then I can hand that over to the engineers, which gets them started a lot quicker. So it does start off the process a lot quicker, and as well as get a client to site, like you were saying, doesn't want to climb up scaffolding. I can show you what's up there and make sure that you're still happy with what's going on. You don't have to wait until the stairs have been built and the lift has been built, and then only have a look at it. This way you can constantly look around, constantly understand what's happening, and if you are still happy with what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.